Hi, this is Mrs. Rodriguez with another lesson video. Today we're going to look at solving multi-step equations. So, a couple of things I want to review before we get started. Don't forget, when you multiply or divide, if both numbers have the same sign, meaning they're both positive or both negative, your answer will be positive. If they have different signs, meaning one is positive, one is negative, or vice versa, negative and positive, you will have a negative answer, okay? Also, inverse operations or inverse math operations means, inverse means opposite, so the opposite of addition is subtraction, the opposite of subtraction is addition, the opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of division is multiplication. So, the steps to solving multi-step equations. It's exactly like doing two-step equations. We're just going to have more than two steps. So if you watch the video on two-step equations, this will be very similar. First, you're going to simplify, okay? And simplifying means combining like terms, or if you have something like the distributive property, that needs to be done. Once you're done simplifying, then you're going to do the risk method, which is the river inverse, which means opposite of order of operations and opposite of math operations. You're going to solve and then you're going to check. So really the only difference between multi-step equations and two-step equations is you need to make sure that you simplify before using the risk method. And then as always, don't forget, no matter what you do, you have to keep that equation balanced. There's that equal sign in the middle, so that means the left has to equal to the right. So we can add, subtract, multiply, and divide all we want with equations, but if we do it to one side and not the other, our equation's no longer balanced, and that equal sign's no longer true. So it wouldn't make sense, okay? So remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other to keep your equation balanced and make sure that both sides continuously are equal. Okay, so let's try a couple of examples. Here's the first one. We have x plus -4 plus 3x equals 2x minus 1 plus 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if I can combine any like terms. So I'm going to start with the left-hand side. So on the left-hand side, I can add 3x and x because they both have x's. So x plus another 3x's would be 4x, and then plus -4, which is a regular number with no variables, so they're not like terms. And we're done simplifying on that side. And now I'm going to take a look at the right-hand side. Is there anything that I can simplify or combine or distributive property? Well, 2x, there's no other numbers on the right-hand side that have a variable, so 2x, we have to leave it alone. But -1 or -1 plus 3, they're both regular numbers, so we can definitely combine those. 3 minus 1 is 2, or -1 plus 3 would be positive 2. Okay, now both sides of our equation have been simplified, so now we're ready to do the risk method. I'm going to draw my river, and remember, the goal is to get x on one side and a number on the other. We want x to equal some number. So that means having x's on both sides of the equation is not good. We're going to have to get it so that x is only on one side. Now, x is a variable, yes, but it is also a number. It's also a number. We don't know what the number is, but we know that it's a number. And as such, we can treat x like a regular number. We can treat it like we would with the -4 or the positive 2. So that means if I need to get x on one side, I'm going to have to cancel it out. And if I have 2x plus 2, that's the same thing as 2 plus 2x. So the opposite would be to subtract 2x. And if I do that, To keep my equation balanced, I need to do it on the other side as well. 2x minus 2x is 0, so it cancels out. And now we just have a 2 on the right-hand side. 4x minus 2x, if I have 4x's and I get rid of 2 of them, I have 2x. And I'm left with 2x plus negative 4 on the left-hand side. Okay? So now I'm going to continue. Opposite of order of operations. So that means we have 2 times x and we have a plus negative 4. Well, the opposite of order of operations means we're going to tackle that plus negative 4 first. And the opposite of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract negative 4 from both sides. And we're left with 2 times x, negative 4 minus negative 4. So if I have negative 4 minus a negative 4, remember subtraction, we add the opposite. So that's going to equal negative 4 plus the opposite, which is positive 4. And if I have 4 negatives and I add 4 positives, that equals 0. And it cancels out. And then 2 minus negative 4. Same thing, you add the opposite. So it's actually going to equal 6. Okay. Now we're just left with 2 times x equals 6. The opposite of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times x is just x. And I'm left with x equals, but to keep our equation balanced, if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. 6 divided by 2, which is 3. And that's my answer, x equals 3. Now, I can plug that back in to the original equation. Let me go ahead, make a little line to see if we did it correctly. So x plus negative 4 plus 3x equals 2x minus 1 plus 3. All right, now remember that was before we simplified. So actually in these you can take the simplified equation and use that to plug in your answer, which will make it a lot easier. So we're going to have 4x plus negative 4 equals 2x plus 2. Now, we said x equals 3, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug that 3 in everywhere that there is an x. And we end up with 4 times 3 plus negative 4 equals 2 times 3 plus 2. So 4 times 3 is 12 plus negative 4 equals 6 plus 2. 12 plus negative 4 is 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 does equal 8, so we did it correctly. Okay, x does equal 3. All right, let's take a look at our second example. Our second example has 3 times x plus 2 equals x plus 2. So step number 1, we simplify before starting the risk method. In this case, we have the distributive property, right? We have parentheses with stuff going on the inside. So that's what we need to get rid of. So the distributive property says we do 3 times x and then 3 times 2. And we get 3x plus 6 equals x plus 2. There are no terms to combine, so we're going to go ahead and start the risk method. We draw a river, and now we're going to do the inverse. Now remember, x is just a regular number, and we want just one x on one side. So x plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus x. So the opposite of addition would be subtraction. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. X minus x is 0, and we're left with 2 on the right-hand side And 3 x's and you get rid of 1 will leave you with 2 x's. So we end up with 2x plus 6 on the left. Opposite of order of operations, so I'm going to tackle that 6 before the 2 because addition will come before multiplication if we do the opposite of order of operations. So if it's plus 6, the opposite would be to subtract 6. To keep my equation balanced, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 6 minus 6 is 0. They cancel out, and I'm left with 2 times x equals 2 minus 6, which is negative 4. Okay, 2 times x, the opposite would be to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times x is just x. And a negative divided by a positive, different signs, so it's going to be negative. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. So x equals negative 2. Once again, I can check my answer by plugging it into the original equation. But remember, in multi-step, we simplify before we actually solve. So I'm going to take the simplified method. So we had 3 times x plus 2 equals x plus 2. And then we did the distributive property to simplify it, and we got 3x plus 6 equals x plus 2. This is what I'm going to use to plug in my x. So we are saying x equals negative 2, and I'm going to take that negative 2 and I'm going to plug it in everywhere there's an x and see, does it work? So we'll have 3 times negative 2 plus 6 equals negative 2 plus 2. Well, a negative times a positive is a negative, and 3 times 2 is 6. So that's going to be a negative 6 plus 6 equals negative 2 plus 2. Interesting. Well, we have the same number on each side of the equation, but with opposite signs. So 6 minus 6 or negative 6 plus 6 is 0. And negative 2 plus 2 or 2 plus negative 2 is also 0. It's true, so it worked. Oops, sorry about that. It's true, so it worked. Okay. For our next one, we have 2 times x minus 2 plus x equals 5. So here's an example of, we're going to do the distributive property, but now we're also going to have to combine like terms. So here we go. I see the parentheses, we do that first. So it's going to be 2 times x and 2 times 2. So that's going to be 2x minus 4 plus x equals 5. But we can also combine like terms. We're not done yet because I can combine this x with that 2x, and that'll give us 3x minus 4 equals 5. Now we're ready to use the risk method. I'm going to draw my river. Okay. If it's 3 times x minus 4, well, we're going to address the subtraction first because we're doing opposite of order of operations. So the opposite of subtracting 4 would be to add 4. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 4 minus 4 is 0, and 3 times x is going to equal 5 plus 4, which is 9. The opposite of multiplication is division. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times x is just x. And 9 divided by 3 is just 3. So x equals 3. We can plug that back in to see if we did it right. So the original equation is 2 times x minus 2 plus x equals 5. That simplified to 2x minus 4 plus x equaled 5. And then it ended up being 3x minus 4 equals 5. Now, x equals 3. So I can plug that in for x and see, does it work? 3 times 3 minus 4, does that equal 5? Well, 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 minus 4 does equal 5, so yes, it works. Okay, so another example of a multi-step equation. Okay, we're going to do one more example, and in this case, we have 4x minus 2 minus 2x equals x minus 5. So once again, combine like terms. 4x minus 2x is 2x, minus 2 equals x minus 5. I draw my river. Negative 5 plus x is the same thing as x minus 5, so we're going to subtract x from both sides. We get negative 5 on the right, and we get x minus 2 on the left. I need to get rid of that 2, so I'm going to do the opposite and add. And I get 2 minus 2, which is 0, so x equals negative 5 plus 2, which is negative 3. So x equals negative 3. Okay? I can plug that back in, and it simplified to 2x minus 2 equals x minus 5. And we said that x equals negative 3. And we said that x equals negative 3. So I'm going to plug that back in wherever there's an x. And we end up with 2 times negative 3 minus 2 equals negative 3 minus 5. A positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 3 is 6, so that's negative 6 minus 2 equals negative 3 minus 5, which is negative 8. Negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 does equal negative 8, so it worked, and we did the problem correctly. Okay, so that's how you solve multi-step equations. Remember, you're going to simplify first by combining like terms and or doing the distributive property. And then you're going to do the risk method. We're going to do the risk method by drawing the river, doing the inverse operation, and going the opposite of order of operations. We solve, and then you can plug your answer back into the original equation to check it and make sure you did it correctly. And as always, if you have any questions or need additional assistance, feel free to make an appointment with me for office hours. Hope you have a great day. Bye.